Good afternoon. I'm proud of all the members of the Milwaukee Police Department that worked this holiday to keep our community safe during all the celebrations that occurred this past weekend. I wish we could say that we had a weekend free of violence. Unfortunately, that was not the case. As part of our ongoing efforts to address crime in our city, as mentioned in our violent crime plan, I'm proud to announce the launch of the 2023 Operation Summer Guarding, or as I like to call it, Summer Guarding 2.0. Operation Summer Guarding was initiated last summer. The operation tasked MPD with focused enforcement on gun-related incidents in neighborhoods identified as having higher concentrations of shots fired. When not holding individuals to account for firearm-related incidents, MPD prioritized positive community engagement to build trust and legitimacy while still prioritizing enforcement of fire-related violent crime that is plaguing our city. After last year's effort, we asked the Medical College of Wisconsin, our VRFAST partner, to analyze the operation and provide recommendations for making the operation even better. Incorporating this feedback, MPD has enhanced our 2023 operation. Key recommendations that have been incorporated include focused hotspot development from an evaluation of not just shot spotter data, but also analysis of non-fatal shootings, homicides, and shots fired calls. An increased number of smaller targeted areas, totaling 27 neighborhoods located in police districts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Some of those neighborhoods, Amani neighborhood, Historic Mitchell Street, Lincoln Village, Sherman Park, and Washington Park are some of those neighborhoods that will be enforced or have this type of deployment. But also please note that this is still a fluid and also an ongoing relationship with our residents and also our intel on what best services will be utilized for the operation. There's also enhanced community feedback throughout the process that will include a pre-deployment survey, and it will also include a post-deployment survey. MPD will have ongoing discussions with our intergovernmental and community partners during the operation. In addition, we also create a forum for follow-up to ensure our efforts best support the neighborhoods we are serving. As we did last year, officers assigned to Operation Summer Guardian are encouraged to engage with the residents and the community to continue to foster positive relationships with our community members. The Violent Crime Plan also details our efforts to enhance our neighborhood outreach and canvassing efforts. Door hangers, such as this in my hand, where it explains in regards to what the community message is for Operation Guardian, but also some of the things that we'll be focusing on with the QCR code. But door hangers, as an additional means of outreach, will be distributed in the Summer Guardian neighborhoods. We have been seeing increased youth victims and suspects involved in violent crime. It is everyone's responsibility to be a positive example for our children. This year's deployment will have a renewed focus on curfew enforcement and parental responsibility. Again, this year's we'll have a renewed focus on curfew deployment enforcement and parental responsibilities. We're seeing too often our young children being either victims involved in these incidents or, unfortunately, as suspects. Parents and guardians, help us keep your children safe. If your child is out after hours without a valid reason and is involved in an incident, we will cite you. Again, if your child is out after hours without a valid reason and is involved in an incident, we will cite you. The Milwaukee Police Department is committed to working with our community to build healthy, sustainable neighborhoods free of crime and maintained by positive relationships. Together, we are better.
We'll take some questions. We can start with Sean.
Yeah. Chief, why are we seeing more kids resorting to guns now than ever before?
Wish I had the answer, Sean. I know that we do have a problem in regards to that. There is a #1 overarching theme with all these incidents that we're finding not only within the last month but this year. Arguments, poor conflict resolution. And we're seeing our young ones involved in these particular type of situations where they have access to firearms. and are not afraid to use them. And so there is a an urgency behind what we're doing as a department. But as we said earlier, and as I continue to say, this is not something that only the Milwaukee Police Department can handle in regards to know where your kids are at, know what your kids are doing. Parents, what are your kids involved in? Who are they bringing into your homes? Where are they hanging out? There is no such thing as you don't have the right to ask. As a father, as a resident, I implore you to ask. So there's a wide variety of reasons why our young ones are involved in these particular unacceptable behaviors, but we have to come together as a community to ensure that we're doing the best thing that we can to not only impact and intervene, but in the end, hold bad behavior accountable.
Is there any stats from last year that shows how effective the program was?
So we do have an outgoing report. We are going to be able to have something shared from the Milwaukee Homicide Review Commission. And again, as we just said, or as I just said, always looking to improve. One of the things that was a recommendation that came out of the Milwaukee Homicide Review Commission was a post survey with our residents that we have committed. And we're also going to have a pre-survey and a post survey. And also looking at how other ways can we engage our community to understand, are we at the right places, engaging with the right individuals in regards to this particular problem. We don't have all the answers. We're always looking for ways that we can make sure that we are at the tip of the arrow, tip of the spear. But I always say that we are more than willing to work with our community, work with our government partners, work with our law enforcement partners to ensure we have the highest level of safety in our neighborhoods.
Chief, if you could talk a little bit about, you talked about having officers be a part of the community engagement as we move forward. Talk to me a little bit about, what that will look like in terms of not only preventing crime, but making people feel comfortable talking to officers about concerns they have.
So one of the things that we saw for last year that really had some great gains was as the officers are in these respective neighborhoods, interacting in a positive way with the residents. Understand that this is not about being an occupational force. This is not about walking down or driving through a neighborhood where you are giving individuals the, mean mug, as they sort of say. If someone's on the porch, engage. How are you doing? How's things going? If someone's walking down the street, engage. Because only through building those relationships, as a department, we are information driven. No one wants to share information with someone they don't have a relationship with or don't feel positive in regards to their particular interaction. And what we found was, and again, this is only anecdotal, we have better stats, we were able to intervene in regards to those who were carrying guns. We were able to be quicker in our areas of deployments to respond to those who are trying to bring harm to our neighborhoods. So it's about that our officers come in with the right mindset, the right attitude that those who are living in those neighborhoods want you there, they just want you there in the right way. Not wave or look at someone as, an enemy or stranger, but as a friend, someone you can build a relationship with, and that you can build off of that, and ensuring that you're being as responsive as possible in regards to getting the information and getting that, best guidance for the safety for the neighborhoods.
Same kind of thing, just people how will they recognize this? How will they know this is part of the operation? Will there be a large presence? Is it just kind of a casual thing?
You make it like I saw we were going to do a stroll through the park there, Nick.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I will say this much. Neighbors know when the police are in the neighborhood. One of the things that we did initially in regards to our rollout was reach out to community groups. We reached out to elected officials. We had a debriefing of sorts of what do you like to see? This is what we're bringing to the table in regards to this particular operation. But also, they were part of the survey. So there was a lot of pre-operation engagement from this particular agency with all of our various partners within the community. We talked with bids, with elected officials, with community stakeholders. And so we're asking them to spread the word, to let individuals know in regards to where we're going to be at for these particular respective neighborhoods. Utilizing these door hangers to, I know this is a little bit old school, but I will say this much. This helps in regards to that we're giving all type of efforts in reaching out. We have a social media presence. We also have a number of different, media markets that we can utilize, but this also has more of a personal touch. And in many times, there's a little bit more privacy in regards to this. That someone can just take this and utilize the resources on this to be able to have that conversation with us if they don't feel comfortable in engaging with us on the porch or on the block, because we know it is challenged. And we have to be able to give our residents every opportunity to not only engage with us, but to share information that we know we need to know to be able to be the most effective.
Chief, in Operation Summer Guardian 1.0 last year, how many parents were cited? What was their response to this effort, and do parents have control of their kids?
So one of the things that we recognize we can improve on is utilizing all our tools. The activity of using the tool of the curfew or the parental responsibility was not at the forefront of that particular engagement last year. That last year was more of responding to shot spotter calls. Those were those activations. Someone used illegal gun in the city of Milwaukee. We were able to have quicker deployments. We did have a not an overarching theme of engagement, community engagement, positive community engagement, but we did expect our officers to be engaged, to be constitutionally utilizing their actions out there in the neighborhoods. So we're actually, and that was one of the recommendations coming from the Milwaukee Homicide Review Commission, having more intentionality of looking at from a standpoint, what are your overarching goals and how can we better utilize the tools that the Milwaukee Police Department has at its disposal to get a bigger impact. So this will also still be analyzed by the Milwaukee Homicide Review Commission. We all know that we need to make sure that we are covering all points, and so I will say that we have made that more of a utilized tool in regards to seeing that many of our young ones are out after curfew. They're engaged in behaviors that if they weren't out there, they would not be a victim of or a suspect in. But also understand that we need to, again, collaboration with the parents. I mean, we made the plea to the media. We're making the plea on our respective social media. We're making the plea even within our door hangers, Engage, understand what's going on with your kids. We're seeing accidental shootings inside of these homes where these parents have a number of kids unsupervised, unacceptable. Because unfortunately, these particular incidents have horrible, horrible outcomes.
This was the Commission's recommendation to cite parents this year based on an analysis of last year.
No, that's not the Commission's recommendation. This is part of our strategy of making sure that we're utilizing all tools of what we're seeing out here in regards to these unfortunate incidents where we're seeing that there's kids still out after dark, kids who are, again, being engaged in activities that should not be for their age, and that we should be, and we will, again, enforce those particular type of ordinances just to make sure that, we're using every tool that we can for the safety of our cities, for the safety of our victims, and for the safety of our children.
Chief, you mentioned that conflict resolution is a big issue. I know you and the mayor are on the same page with that. He expressed his frustrations that people can't just box it out maybe instead of pulling a
Or talk it out.
Right, exactly. That would be even better.
Yes.
But what about specifically focusing on young people, social media trends? It's not always like, in the moment, but they'll be inspired by something on social media they would consider be bold that would give them some clout. I know that's hard to monitor. Is there a way to address that? Is it a matter of, again, going back to the parents? What about that avenue of where kids are kind of getting these ideas from?
So I wish I had all those answers. I think I'll probably be like a parent whisperer. I'm not, anywhere near the expert in this particular field, but it comes down to good old-fashioned oversight, whether it's the parents, whether it's the guardians, whether it's those who these kids are, utilizing as a role model. One of the things I remember reading about for the Beta Philanthropies, when they had brought in the young kids, one of the things that they said, repeatedly, we need role models, and just beyond even just doctors and lawyers, people who care, and that comes in all shapes and sizes, all different type of backgrounds. And so I know that sometimes it can be overwhelming in regards to being a parent. I'm a parent myself of 2 young teenage kids, but there's resources. I know that the media has done. I thank you all for putting that out there in regards to resources. There's people doing great things. Mentor Milwaukee, Running Rebels, Safe and Sound. there are opportunities for us to have our children guided in a positive way, given opportunities to be engaged in positive things, whether it's Camp Rise or a number of different work situations for the kids. We have to do something, and I have to put a little side word to that. Do something positive in regards to engaging our kids, engage our young ones, but not forget. It's not just the young teenagers. Young ones is like 19, 18 too. We want to sometimes look at it from the 15-year-olds, even though all of those situations is unacceptable. That's the gamut is as young as 11 to as old as 23, 24, and in my eyes, you're still a young one. So we need to ensure that we are being a good resource, because sometimes those social media arguments or trends, who's giving the guidance saying you might not want to do that? You might want to rethink that. Where is that going to end you up? I mean, who is stepping into that role, whether it's a faith-based, whether it's, again, like I said, many of our different community stakeholders, whether it's, our elders. I just want anyone who has any a part of being a positive influence to please engage and step into this.
How are kids getting access to these guns?
I love these questions because it almost seems like everybody just thinks I'm a guru of answers here. I will say this much. One of the type of trends that we're seeing, which we have made some great strides, again, is the weapons or the handguns left in vehicles. I know that handguns that are left unsecured in homes are two of the biggest factors that we get anecdotally. Don't be trying to quote me on this. Anecdotally, that we're getting in regards to that, not utilizing gun locks, not utilizing proper security methods. It's beyond that the kids are utilizing these weapons for their arguments, conflicts. They're harming themselves in a negligent manner also. And we get them as young as 2, as a 1, in regards to handling these weapons unsecured in homes where the parents may have good intentions, but unfortunately understand that there is responsibility behind that to lock them up securely and not let the child know where the key is hidden at or the combination is hidden at. And so there's a lot of opportunities, again, a lot of different other partnerships that we can use in regards to obtaining, safety gun locks or learning, the proper techniques of gun safety. So it's really important for all of us to understand how we all have a role in the safety of our children, of ensuring that we do not make it easy for them to engage in these particular type of almost irreparable behaviors that has, again, truly damaging outcomes in regards to utilizing these weapons.
Is there a number that, one is one too many, but the particular neighborhoods that you mentioned that are a part of this operation, how many shots fired needs to go off in a neighborhood for it to be in consideration for this?
So we can follow up in regards to how the numbers came from our office's mapping and analysis and planning. But I will say that there is usually a pretty high number in regards to those particular triggers, so to speak, no pun intended, for us to be able to say this is on our radar. And unfortunately, I would hate to say it, it's fluid. It's not easy to say where these particular areas should be the only areas of focus, because the entire city is our responsibility. But there are areas that have higher incidence than others that we need to pay attention to. And also look for those ways to do more than just a summer garden, because many of these areas are part of our department's micro areas. And so there's a lot of other activities that districts are putting forth, district commanders, working with a community to be able to engage in other aspects. But proactivity and accountability has its place in the overall violent crime plan. It's important for us to be, proactive in this particular manner, but that's not the only solution when we're trying to deal with this, nor are they the only areas of concern. We are looking for feedback. We have a community engagement manager who is still doing consistent outreach with our residents, where if there are other concerns come up and it comes within the intel, we will be pivoting. And that's why, even though we will name these neighborhoods off, even though we do have some examples, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the ones for next week. We're talking about making sure that we are using real-time intel, engagement with our residents, to that we are at the tip of the spear.
Chief, there are several youth groups in the city, a lot of youth leaders we've all done stories with. You consulted them, talked to them about what they're seeing with their peers. How do you incorporate their information into this approach?
So we have ongoing conversations. As you all know, that we have the resurgence of PAL, Police Athletic League, where we have Friday night particular activities. Working with Mentor Milwaukee, I've sat in those rooms with the young ones, talking about the concerns and the areas of where they like to see us engage and be involved in. But the nice thing about it is, one, we're not strangers to having engagement with our youth. This is all districts, divisions have a level of engagement with our youth, and that is building trust also. So the youth does have a voice, I spoke with them at a gun summit with Forward Latino just I think like a month ago, whatever. So it is important for us to not take that for granted, to see them, to engage, but also to engage consistently. Too often we have one talk and then we think that's it. You know, we need to continue to have that feedback, that circular feedback, and most of all, we need to be listening.
Can you just remind us the curfew hours again?
Remind you curfew hours. Go ahead.
11
Thank you.
during the summer.
11 during the,
Yeah.
and that's 7 days a week?
Yep. During the school year is when it drops down during the week, and then goes back to 11 on the weekend. Yep.
There was such a low there that I thought it was already done. So
What was the penalty for parents?
Oh God, I don't remember.
we will follow up with that and give you that citation. I wish I had it on top of my head. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.